Hey there everybody, and welcome back to more Sword of Etheria. So last time around we were pretty successful in taking down Vetus and all those Ords, and while it didn't leave us a lot of Etheria, it has left us with enough to make a few upgrades to our characters. Namely, we'll be able to get Feel up to the same level as Leon, and while we're not going to be able to get Almira on the exact same level, we're going to get her somewhat close. And that's pretty much what I think your focus is going to want to be early on in the game, is just to work up the stats and try to get all three of your characters on relatively the same level. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the next stage. And as Maud Flanders was often wont to say, won't someone please think of the children? And that's exactly what we are going to be doing as we head through this long abandoned temple in hopes of finding and freeing some of those missing village children. And hopefully, just maybe, we might be able to find Dorothy amongst them. But as you can imagine, it's not going to be an easy trek. Already greeted by a brand new enemy here. And you can probably guess from his huge axe he has quite a bit of power and range, but he does have one massive fault to him, and that's, well, he doesn't really have much in the way of defensive capabilities. He never really blocks. I have never seen him dodge, so as long as you are not attacking him by yourself, he's pretty easy to take down.
Almira, here we go!
Whoa, but that's not to say that new enemies are going to be the only danger in here. Probably wondering where that fire came from, and we'll be covering that shortly, but for right now, there is something more important that we can sometimes find behind these destroyable doors.
Come on, hurry up!
Yay!
And that's occasionally, sometimes in these rooms, we will find those missing children. And in case you were wondering how many children we had left to find, there is a handy counter on the screen. And there will be plenty of rooms to explore, as this temple is exceedingly sprawling, to say the least. But even though it might be a bit hard to tell, not all of the children will be stowed away into rooms. The one child there on the ground was actually in the mouth of that really large rock creature there. The good news is that as far as I can tell, there's no way to hurt the child, so we can just wail on this miniature service without really any kind of a worry. And while I am in the midst of doing all these death blows here, I think I mentioned before that there is a bit of a Etheria multiplier whenever you do finish an enemy with a death blow. But you might also notice that occasionally, as we continue to do more and more death blows, that number will continue to go up and up and up. And that's because, as you do continue to do consecutive death blows against enemies, that number will obviously increase, and I'm wanting to say that it ends up maxing out at about times 16. So a normal enemy that you might only get 10 Etheria for, you could probably get 164.
Come on, hurry up!
Thank you.
And in some cases, that's pretty much the only way you're really going to be able to reach the... if you're going for an A or an S rank in Etheria, there are some levels that pretty much require you to do this to really get up to that level. And while we met this mysterious fountain at the end of this dead end here, we also get what could be a pretty dangerous ambush with two large sword and shield enemies and another one of those axe enemies, but well, hopefully you have been practicing your death blows, because they are going to be very important in these very close, tight situations. Especially, as you can tell, just a lot of additional Etheria you can get from those multipliers. Yeah, no idea what the fountain was for, but at least it gave us some health back, which is very good because, yeah, all the ambushes from now on are pretty much going to be exceedingly difficult. Especially when the camera decides to not work with you. I think that's mostly due to the targeting in the game can be a little bit finicky. You don't really have any control of it outside of maybe vaguely where you're looking. And as far as I can tell from the controls, there's no way to keep a lock on and switch between targets, so well, if you're not happy with the target you currently have, the best you can hope for is maybe letting go of the targeting button and hoping that if you press it again, maybe you'll target the thing you want to. It's hard to say. It's only ruined a couple of runs for me. It's nothing too detrimental to the game, but it can be kind of annoying. And also, in case you're wondering, this is our end destination. Maybe that fountain we destroyed was part of some locking mechanism. Who's to say? But yeah, as I mentioned in an earlier video, my primary thought process when going into a fight is usually to go after the smaller enemies, as they are much more easy to get your tension gauge going. And you usually want to spend said tension on taking down larger enemies, but occasionally the larger enemies have other plans for you. Still, those baby services are not... They have a large health pool, they do a reasonably large amount of damage, but yet again, with most larger enemies, as long as you're working in tandem with your partners, it's really not that difficult. Also, we can finally see there just where the fire comes from. Some of these chests are indeed booby-trapped, and after you hit them, they'll sometimes erupt in fire, and if you're wondering just how much damage that does, we'll definitely be finding out later. But we see there, for the first time, that there is sometimes red Etheria you can get that will pretty much immediately fill up your tension gauge. And if you can manage to find those in the middle of a fight, they are especially useful, but as you could tell there, they do not last for a very long amount of time. Still, at this point, as long as you've gotten down the whole juggling thing, the whole death blow thing, a lot of these enemy situations are pretty much set up for you to get the maximum juggle going, which I really, really enjoy. I think it also works especially well if you've managed to remember that you can control and command just where your AI will focus on. It becomes especially important for these larger enemies. And if you're wondering just what you can sometimes do when an enemy has hit the ground, if there's something you can do to maybe keep a juggle going, there is, even though it's a bit difficult to do sometimes, and it's just jumping and doing a downward swing that will cause the dazed enemy that might be lying on the ground to shoot upwards. And it's definitely a bit of an advanced technique that the game doesn't immediately tell you about, but well, it doesn't seem that the fountains are, well, maybe the only thing we have to do to control the opening of said door. And you can probably assume at this point, it might have something to do with finding all the children. And I know we've seen it before, and you've probably been wondering, is there a level above level 1 for the tension gauge? And indeed there is. As you saw there, as we reached level 2, we were able to do a joint tension attack with one of our partners. But yeah, in case you were wondering how much damage that does, it actually does a lot. And if you get caught inside the room, it will sometimes juggle you, which is extremely deadly.
Hurry, everybody!
Yay!
But yeah, the final child was the trigger, but if you notice the count, we still have one more child to find, and could easily be behind this door, but well, it's still not going to be that easy. We Yeah, we are set up with 4 rooms here. And, well, spoiler alert, the child that we're missing is not in one of them. Instead, the game seems to be exceedingly nice here, giving us a number of green Etheria pickups, and a few additional items here and there. This final one is most interesting because, well, we've never actually seen that symbol before, but that is an equipment piece that we'll be seeing at the end, but oh boy, yeah. Now, this may look like a big fighting arena, and you'd be very correct on that because, well, most of the stage was not really getting you prepared for this arena. This arena is mostly hoping the fact that you have gotten down the whole Deathblow thing, because the numbers that we are going to be seeing in this arena are insane, at least in comparison to what we've seen so far. And this can either be amazing for you and your Etheria count, or it can be incredibly frustrating, depending on how you approach it and how well your AI is reacting with you. Yeah, it starts out simply enough with some baseline frogmen, though they do send them out in pretty huge numbers. But shortly afterwards, yeah, things start to pick up just a teeny tiny bit. And while it may seem initially like I'm getting the shit kicked out of me, things change just a tiny bit. That was incredibly satisfying. Yeah, I was pretty happy with how that turned out, and you might not have been paying attention earlier, but I think I entered that fight with about 2,500 Etheria, and yeah, I almost doubled it. It's pretty good all around, but more importantly,
Come on, hurry up!
now we have one bizarrely invincible frogman, but we found our final child. And yeah, that mysterious frogman, we saw him at the start of the level. He was carrying away that one child. Has pretty much been outrunning us this entire time, but if you're wondering as to why he was invincible, well, there is a very plot-specific reason for that we'll be getting to shortly. Just need one more room to clear out here. Lots of Etheria, and time to fight the boss. Say hello to Doomveer? Dumbveer? I'm not exactly sure, but believe it or not, this is another enemy name that does make sense. Wouldn't you know it? It apparently has root in Roman government, ancient Roman government, where two people held one political office in a joint venture. In this case, we have a tiny frogman and what appears to be like a purplish service type of enemy. And, as you can imagine, the little guy, completely invincible, and is used primarily as a very, very nasty projectile by the larger guy, who is very protective of his little buddy. This is both a massive danger to you, but also your primary target, because as you can imagine, you're not really going to be building up your tension gauge with the large guy. He's not going to get dazed by your normal attacks, so you're pretty much going to have to focus on the tiny guy to get that gauge up and really do any type of damage to the big guy. Now this becomes especially dangerous because, well, the big guy really, really likes to pick up his little buddy. And if you happen to be next to his little buddy, he's more than likely going to pick you up instead and do a lot of damage to you. But the one important thing to keep in mind is you always want to keep targeting the little guy, because even when he's about to be thrown, you didn't see it there, sorry. But yeah, even when he is about to be thrown, you can still knock him out of the big guy's hands because, well, that's pretty much the only way you're really going to get consistent juggles on the tiny one.
Right away, here we go!
But with that, we have freed pretty much all of the kids. Still, though, I am a little bit sad that we weren't able to find Dorothy. Maybe she's further up in the temple. Well, the only way to find out is to tune in next time.